I'm calling this video Backblading 101. I backblade with the grader a lot. It can save you a lot of time. Backblading can make your project look better. I've come to use backblading so much that I would be lost without it. If you were working in clay and the loose material is a bit lumpy, backblading can help you break up the lumps. If you're working in gravel and the gravel is a little too dry, backblading can keep the gravel from segregating. I use backblade in 63 mil recycled material a lot for that very reason. Here's a tip. If there is a manhole cover or a valve cover that is on grade or slightly above grade, you can backblade over it and the cover will usually stay in place. Whereas if you made the same stroke with your forward blade, the cover would be displaced. But there is something negative to say about backblading. It can be unsafe. An operator can be so focused on the blade that you forget to pay attention what is behind you. This is Phil Law, a field mechanic doing a blade change. But the reason I wanted to show this freeze frame is to emphasize the curvature of the blade and how that has an impact on backblading. Now here I have just finished cutting the notch line on a berm, and it generated quite a bit of material. And it brought the material up to one end of the project a little bit. So in this case, I'm not really using the backblade to groom things up. I'm using the backblade to actually shift material into the right place. So instead of going out and turning around to push this material back to where it needs to be, I'm dragging it backwards with a backblade. And that's how you can really save a lot of time using the backblade. It can save you from going out and turning around. Plus, turning around can cause tracks on the road that you need to clean up afterwards. So, like I say, if you do this safely, and you always keep in mind what's behind you, then like I say, it can really save you a lot of time. You can you can drag a lot of material backwards if you want to, and get it back to where it needs to be. I use the backblade when I'm working on these bubbles. I use the backblading a lot. And I actually completely shape these bubbles with the backblade. And you know, the backblade can almost work like a trowel. When a concrete finisher is using his trowel to finish concrete, you know how he squeezes the concrete underneath the trowel. A backblade works a little bit in the same way. Because of the curvature of the blade, it actually, forces the material under the blade and may even pack it just slightly. But it creates quite a different finish on the material compared to straight blading. And I use it an awful lot when I work on these bubbles, not only for grooming them up, but for completely shaping them actually. So when you're blading in these bubbles, just by the act of turning the corner, your driver wheels create a bit of a rut in the gravel or in the clay. And by using the backblade, it can more or less erase that rut. You see how those grater tracks are there from my driver wheels? Now watch this. And another thing is you can lean your blade ahead just a wee bit if you want to get the back blade to cut a little more. You can just lean the blade ahead just a wee bit. But now, by stroking that same pass in reverse and using the back blade, it completely erases that greater rut that my driver wheels just made. And your steering wheels, the front wheels won't really make much of a rut. You'll hardly see the track that they made, but you'll very much see the track that your driver wheels make. So that is basically what I use to completely finish these bubbles. I totally backblade them, and it can make for a pretty nice finish. So like I say, backblading is, in my work, I feel that backblading is pretty essential. I'll usually go around about 2 passes, sometimes 3, but I'll usually go around in a circle here, 2 passes, 2 strokes, and then I'll just groom it up again a little bit as it needs to be. But by backblading in a circle like this, it's basically erasing the rut that your driver wheels are making, and it works quite nicely. It takes a lot of practice to do that, but it does work pretty nice. Like I say, if you want to backblade, a little hard, you want to take a little more material and actually backblade a little more aggressively. You can lean your blade ahead before you set in like this. There, you see, just lean it ahead like that, and it'll take a little extra material by leaning it ahead. It'll cut better. The blade becomes a little sharper. I'll catch that windrow there, you see? I'll pick up on that windrow and drag it back. And basically, as I'm doing it, I'm paying attention to where the crown is on this bubble. I'm shaping it at the same time. As you're working on your project, the material can get out of balance. That is, you can get too much material at one end of the project and not enough material at the other end. So I use backblading quite a bit to correct this problem. So as I'm blading forward, working on things, I'll also drag material backwards just to try to keep the material in balance so a whole bunch of material doesn't get up to one end of the job. So here I'm placing some gravel along the curb, and when I lift up my blade, to empty my blade, there's a little mound there. Well, I'll take that little mound and some extra, and I'm going to drag it backwards. And like I say, it can. That way, I don't have to go out and turn around and do it in a forward blade. I can drag it backwards with a backward blade. So again, in that sense, it can make you work more efficiently, save you time, and like you say, I'm also right now I'm backblading, and I'm also knocking down a little windrow that I just generated when I was blading along the curb. So, like I say, backblading can be very helpful, but I repeat, you do need to be very aware of what's behind you when you're doing it, because if you're not aware of that, it can be a dangerous thing to do. So you really have to keep that in mind. To create these videos, I am using footage that I shot on the job site last summer. If you find these videos helpful or interesting, please like and subscribe. If you have some input, please leave a comment below.